Listen to the Tommy Schnurmacher Show, live weekdays 9 to noon on CJAD 800 and CJAD.com.
We are going to discover so much in the next 25 minutes. What's the difference between a money coach versus a financial planner? Are you financially literate? And what does it mean to be financially literate? We'll talk about that. Let's talk about, first of all, the difference between a money coach versus a financial planner. You're a money coach.
Yes,
right? Okay.
I'm a certified money coach. So the thing is, the idea is really, I feel, is widespread to have a business coach, a life coach, a health coach. But I feel, especially here in Quebec, the idea of money coaches is not really very widespread. And every time I tell somebody I'm a money coach, I feel like I have to put an explanation right after it to explain what is that. Or I get, oh, no, but I already have a financial planner. I'm like, yeah, I already have a financial planner too. So it's really different. The thing is, you might have debt issues or budgeting issues or just fighting with your spouse about money all the time. And you turn around and you're not really sure who can help you. You go to see your financial advisor, and they're really there just to manage your investments and your RSPs and to help you for your retirement plan, which is very good, but that's what they're there for. They're not there to help you figure out your financial life. You can go to your bank. Again, they're going to sit there, maybe give you a consolidation loan, maybe open a new account for you, give you a line of credit. They're not there to help you figure out your financial life. Not
only that, they're in a conflict of interest. They're selling a product. If they teach you to be very careful and never borrow anything, they're out of business as far as you're concerned.
We can have another show just on banks.
Yeah.
And then you can have like financial issues that are causing marital trouble. So you can go see your therapist. But in all these cases, these people are really not looking at your whole financial picture and looking at how are you spending your money, where is the money coming from. So this is really one of the things that a money coach do. What I do is I look at what money's coming in, what money's going out, what are your short-term goals. I'm not talking retirement. It's very important to plan for retirement, but some people are thinking, how am I going to pay that credit card next month before they think about retirement?
Right.
Or, how can I save for an emergency fund? So I really look at more shorter term goals than longer term ones. And the other aspect of what I do is really more the psychology part of money. Because, so I'm not a psychologist, but I'm certified in the psychology part of money. So there's a little bit of a difference there. And not all money coaches are certified in that thing. So just, for you to be aware that some people just focus on the budgeting. I really do the both parts of it, because I really feel that you can only count so much on your willpower to do things, right? To not go spending, to not go shopping. But willpower is only going to get you so far. Unless you understand yourself from a money perspective, it's going to be very hard to change your behaviors. And when I start digging into my clients' past, when I'm trying to understand who they are with money, we literally go back to when they were 5 years old.
Wow.
And we dig every single memory that they have around money. And this is where they start connecting the dots and saying, oh, I never saw myself that way, or I never knew I did this because of that.
And once they know this information, it'll make all the difference how they relate to money from then on.
For sure, because when you have awareness around why you do what you do, when you bring it back to the surface and instead of keeping it in your subconscious mind, it makes a big, big difference. You start acting more consciously. You can spend more consciously. What I call the mindful spending. You're more mindful about what you're doing.
This texter wants to know, who certifies a money coach?
The Money Coaching Institute. She's actually in California, so she certifies money coaches. There's different institutes and different people who certify them. That's one way of doing it.
Let's talk. If you have any questions for Lama Ferran, give us a call, or you can text us, send a text question to 514-800. Let's talk about financial literacy. How would you define financial literacy?
Yeah, people say, I'm not good with money. Well, guess what? You were not born knowing how to walk, and you were not born knowing how to deal with money. But some people have this perception that I'm just not good at it. I'm never going to be good at it. It's literally something you can learn. And I'm not talking about you going to do an MBA in finance, right? So one very, very simple way to start is an amazing online course that I discovered a few years ago. And it's done by the government. It's done by the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada. It's a free course. I can't believe our tax dollars went into this, and people are not like using it and abusing it because it's such a great resource. So it's a 12-module course. You don't need to sign up. You don't need to do anything. You just literally go on their website and it's right there. It talks about saving, budgeting, investments, retirement, taxes, every single topic. So it's like a crash course of Money 101.
And where do you find this?
So it's the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, but actually on my website on MaxWorth.ca, under tools, I have links that take you there.
Oh, that's the best way to get to it. Okay, your website is MaxWorth.ca, and if you don't jot this down, we'll make sure that it's on my page at cjad.com. Yeah. So to go to MaxWorth.ca, click on tools, and you'll have this link to get this crash course.
Well, it's that course and many other things, because another way that you can get financially literate is literally to follow what's happening, right? Like now I know there's a lot of new tax credits that people have to be aware of. It's tax season. And so there's a lot of blogs that you can follow. You're like, okay, what blogs am I going to follow? Again, on my tools, I have a whole list of, I kind of did the research for people so that they don't have to worry about it. I put my favorite blogs. So just sign up for 2 or 3 and read their newsletters. So that's one way of starting to understand what's happening in the financial world. Looking at it. Look at it, open the mail, read your statement. Like the investment statements, people are kind of scared off because it has like words that they don't understand, and what is that return and percentages.
But if they look at the bill, the credit card bill arrives, and there are many numbers on it. There's the date. There's the balance, the full balance.
Yeah.
Usually, I think on American Express, they try to hide that and make that in small print. And in large print, as appetizing as possible, the minimum payment.
Yeah.
Which looks very small, and I can do that.
$10.
And now, thank goodness, the banks have been forced to say how long it will take you to pay off this debt if you make the minimum payment each month. And in some cases, you see numbers like 20 years or 42 years. But Lama, I think when people read that, they don't believe it. They think it's a mistake. They do not believe that it will take 20 years to pay it off.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of...
but it will.
Of course. So you can Google debt payment calculators. And if you want to know how much your debt is going to take you to pay off, not just that one card, try to consolidate everything, put it into a debt calculator, and see how long it's going to take you. Because you're going to put the amounts, you're going to put what's the interest rate on each debt, and you're going to be shocked at the figures.
This is a very interesting, very intriguing question. My guest, Lama Farhan, who is a personal finance expert, a certified money coach. Her website, as we mentioned, MaxWorth.ca. This texter says, how do we trust a money coach when they're dealing with most delicate issues beyond the money issues? How to trust that we won't be ridiculed or spoken to in a condescending manner or made to feel like an idiot for having gotten ourselves into a financially difficult position?
So that's the last thing that I would do. I completely understand. When I sit down with people, I'm not there to judge them. I'm there to help them. I don't care how they got there. What I care about is how can we get out of there.
Right.
So it's really like the same way you go see a psychologist and he tells you, do you ever see a psychologist who blames you for being in depression or for being in the situation you are? Never. They're really there from a helping perspective. I'm not there to judge anybody, and I try to connect with their pain. I try to understand, how they came about, their circumstances, their life. And the other thing is people are usually, hesitant about is confidentiality, right? It's like you literally have to open up your whole life to me. And I'm also very, very keen on keeping my clients' confidentiality, like confidential information, very safe.
If you have any questions, personal finance expert, certified money coach Lama Farhan, my guest. We're talking about boosting financial literacy. You mentioned some of the difference between a money coach and a financial advisor. What are the discussions like between you and your financial advisor?
Well, I don't follow the market. I'm really not interested in what's happening in the market. So when I go see him once a year, usually, I tell him, okay, so what's been happening? Right. I look at my investments, so I know where they're at. I'm like, is there any other new funds that came out that I should look at? How did my funds do compared to other funds? So I don't really talk budgeting. It's more like, I don't know what's happening in the market. You tell me. It's his job.
So he's your financial planner.
Yeah.
Are you his money coach to make sure that he... That he's financially literate, but to make sure he doesn't get carried away and isn't in debt?
He's good. He's in good shape.
All right, we're going to continue our discussion. More of your questions for our guest, Lama Farhan, personal finance expert. Text your question or your comment to 514-800. We'll have all kinds of tips how you can save money and how, if you are not financially literate and don't know what's going on, you're spending a lot of money that you really don't have to spend. We'll continue our discussion. We'll take more of your questions, of course, at 514-800. Great questions for my guest, Lama Farhan, a personal finance expert, a certified money coach. Her website is maxworth.ca. A couple of questions, both pretty much the same kind of question. How much does it cost to have a money coach? And another one saying, do you give 20 years to pay for your services? And how do you charge? Is it on a per visit basis?
Okay, so how much does it cost? It really depends. It can go from a couple $100s to a couple $1,000s. And the reason for that is really it depends what the issue is. I always compare it to you have an issue with your car, you take it to the car mechanic.
Right.
You can't tell the car mechanic, tell me how much it's going to cost just by looking at it from outside. He has to see what the issue is, how many hours it's going to take. So it could be that, you just need some tune-up. It could be that you're really in deep trouble. So you can work with me for a couple months or a couple years. So no, I don't offer 20-year payment plan, but I do offer payment plans. So let's say you're working with me for a year. So the payment is like over, let's say, 8 months or something. There was another question I forgot.
Well, they're saying how much you charge.
So it really depends on, I do an evaluation. So I have a free evaluation that you go on my website, you fill out a form to give me an idea about where you stand financially. And then we sit down for half an hour. I really get a better understanding of where you stand and what package you need. So I've helped, for example, clients answer the question, can I afford this house? They just, it's the first time buying a house. They don't know if they should buy for the amount that the bank approved them for. So I did that one exercise with them and that's it. Some other people, I work with them for 6 months, and then maybe after 6 months, they feel that, they're not ready to let me go yet, so we can extend. Some people feel they can just fly on their own after 4 months of working with me. So it's really on a case-by-case basis.
And a lot of the advice they can pick up on your website as well.
I have a blog. I have a lot of tools. I have a lot of things. But of course, the coaching one-on-one, I'm paying attention to your specific situation and your numbers, and it's very personalized.
I'm sure that when you've spoken to your clients, you've heard this phrase, I don't know where the money goes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I have no idea. I earned this much and I have no idea where the money goes.
Yeah. It's like this big mystery that we solve together.
Okay, so give me an example of how one would go about solving that mystery.
You literally sit down. If you have no clue right now, I suggest to download the last 3 months of your banking transactions and categorize them. That would be the first place to start. And then categorize them and see. If everything you spend is cash, it's going to be a bit harder to go. So maybe you can track for the next 3 months. Or if you're the debit person kind of spender, then you can just go and categorize them and see. Look at it. Right? So that would be one way of knowing where the money goes. And then you don't really have to know exactly where every dollar goes, but you can use whatever you find as an estimate to establish a budget. So this is what I use it for. Like, I don't really care about where every dollar is going right now. I want to know, okay, approximately this is what's happening. From there, this is what we're going to be doing.
What are some of the psychological impediments people have to moving from where they are to getting ahead and getting a fix on their finances?
Well, the psychology that I look into is really all based on archetypes. So what archetypes are, they're really, they're based on the work of Deborah Price. So she wrote a book called Money Magic. And once you understand your archetype, then we try to work on finding strategies to move to a healthier archetype. So I'll give an example so that it doesn't say in the abstract world. So one of the archetypes, for example, is the innocent archetype. So the innocent is really the person who hasn't matured financially. They might be a mature person, but financially they're still like a child. They're very dependent on others. They're dependent on other people's opinion. They get very overwhelmed. So they're the kind of person who don't open their envelopes. They're really head in the sand kind of approach. So once you know that you're an innocent archetype, then and we understand how you came about to be that person, then maybe we can move you to what is called the warrior archetype. So the warrior is really somebody who's more goal-oriented, disciplined. I'm going to take whatever it takes to figure this out. And we figure out the steps, which archetypes are the dominant ones right now and which ones we want to strengthen and to move you from here to there.
An unusual question for you, Lama. Mark says, how do you deal with a couple when one of them decides their money's their money and they decided to spend it? Married, 2 kids, they have no debt. But one member has decided to spend all their money. They feel it's their money and they've spent it all.
Yeah, well, when it comes to couple, it's really important to do an exercise for values exercise. What are your values? And then compromising and putting both your money where your values are. Now, are they living okay without the other person contributing to the marriage? It could be an issue. But it's really sitting down and saying, okay, maybe that portion goes to you spending the way you want, but then there's this portion that stays in the joint account for the household and for the kids and everything. So it's reaching that middle point of, not my money's my money kind of thing.
I think this texter is joking. He says, when my wife asks for money, I tell her no problem. Just to return the last purchase to the store and you have money.
It sounds like the tyrant archetype here to me.
So tell me about the dangers of impulse buying, because I know that retailers do everything to get to that impulse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they really count on you for being undisciplined for them to grow their business. The best thing to do is really, if you do end up buying it, bring it home and keep it in the bag for 3 days. Just sitting there with the receipt for 3 days and reprocess it. Re-ask your question. Do I still really need it? Come home, sleep on it if you really don't want to sleep on it while it's in the store. So just keep it in the bag and sleep on it and then see if you change your mind.
And you're hoping they'll take it back, right?
Of course.
Yes, okay. Lama Farhan, personal finance expert, a certified money coach. Check out her website, well worth seeing, maxworth.ca. She's got some great blogs. That's where I found that minimalist blog, right?
Yeah.
I found that through your website.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800, CJAD.com.